The caravan is coming. For you. Look out! That's the idea President Donald Trump is pushing hard to his supporters, that the more than 7,000 people who comprise this latest so-called caravan through Central America are a pillaging horde of dangerous illegal immigrants on the verge of surging into the U.S. and your house.
And in that caravan, you have some very bad people. You have some very bad people. And we can't let that happen to our country, and it's not.
On Twitter, Trump has gone even further. How could he do that, you ask? This way, quote, "Sadly, it looks like Mexico's police and military are unable to stop the caravan heading to the southern border of the United States. Criminals and unknown Middle Easterners are mixed in. I have alerted Border Patrol and military that this is a national emergency. Must change laws." Criminals, Middle Easterners. What Trump is trying to do here is pretty simple. With the 2018 midterm elections rapidly approaching, he's trying to scare his base into voting. And if 2016 is any guide, it just might work. But the reality of the caravan is much more complex, I know you're shocked, than Donald Trump is letting on. So let's dig into it. Okay, the caravan, essentially a large group of people making their way toward the US border, is not a new thing. These annual marches are known as Via Crucis in Mexico and have come to serve as a sort of symbolic vehicle for people, mostly from Central America, to draw attention to the dire conditions from which they are fleeing in their home countries. Typically, people join and drop off these caravans in large numbers, which means that by the time the caravan gets anywhere close to the United States, it usually numbers in the hundreds, not the thousands. Now, speaking of getting anywhere close to the United States, and this is important, the caravan is currently near the Mexico-Guatemala border. For you non-geography majors out there, that's more than 1,000 miles from the closest border crossing into the United States. To date, the caravan has been moving at about 20 miles a day, which is a lot, but if you do the math, that means the soonest the caravan could get to the US border would be in 50 days. So what happens if and when the caravan does get here? Now, important sidebar, the if in that sentence is a real possibility. The journey is grueling and it can be dangerous depending on the route they take. Many people decide to simply settle somewhere along the way in Mexico. Others head back to their home countries. The idea that a large contingent of people in a caravan will definitely make it to the US border sometime later this year is not a sure thing by any means. End of sidebar. So let's assume, for the sake of this argument, that 1,000 people who are part of the current caravan make it to the US border. Whether they try to enter the country through a legal port of entry or try to make it in through illegal means, the end result, assuming they are detained if they try to enter illegally, is the same. They will likely claim asylum, insisting they are fleeing life-threatening conditions in their home country. Now, if they pass an initial interview designed to assess how real their persecution claim actually is, they then get a court date to have a formal hearing for their claim of asylum. That court date is almost always months in the future. So some stay in detention centers during that wait. Others are let free, often wearing monitoring bracelets. Usually around 8 in 10 asylum seekers get past that first interview. Far fewer, though, see their asylum claims approved by the courts. And that's it. That's the full process. And it's complicated. It's also far less scary than Trump is working hard to make it out to be. So why is he doing it then? Well, for political gain. Duh. Trump has weaponized fear of rampant illegal immigration among his supporters since he became a candidate for president back in 2015.
These are some bad people coming through there. These aren't babies. These aren't little angels coming into our country.
We have the worst immigration laws in the entire world. All caused because of the illegal immigration onslaught brought by the Democrats because they refuse to acknowledge or to change the laws. They like it.
And now, with the midterm elections just days away, Trump is amping up his rhetoric even more. Not only painting a picture of a ravaging horde charging toward our borders, but suggesting that there may be some terrorist elements who are using the caravan to secure entry into the US.
They say it happens all the time from the Middle East. It's not even saying bad or good, but some real bad ones. But they intercept, well, they could very well be.
But there's no proof.
There's no proof of anything. There's no proof of anything.
There's no proof of anything. So he's got that right. But here's the thing. Trump knows that even admitting he has no proof won't take away the political power of the Caravan when it comes to motivating his base in advance of the 2018 midterms. That base believes deeply that immigration is the central issue facing our country. That, left unchecked, the way of life they have known will be erased. And so, they are ready and willing to believe whatever Trump tells them about the dangerous people in this caravan who are allegedly coming for them. To be clear, very little of what Trump says about the caravan is actually borne out by the facts. The truth is more complicated and less obviously threatening. But Trump doesn't care about the truth here, and neither, seemingly, do his supporters. And unfortunately, that is the point.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, I just want to acknowledge our law enforcement partners joining us here today. Bill Sweeney, Assistant Director in charge of the New York FBI office, and Sean Benedict, Special Agent in charge of ATF's New York Field Division, and Philip Bartlett, Inspector in charge of the U.S. Postal Inspection Services New York Division. And in a moment, you'll hear from Mayor deBlasio, then you're going to hear from Bill, and then from John Miller. And John will provide you with an update on the suspicious package investigations we're conducting here in New York City. First and foremost, my message today is that New Yorkers are safe. There are no current credible threats to any individuals, organizations, or locations here in New York City. New Yorkers are safe, but everyone, all 8.6 million residents and the millions of visitors who come here every year, should always remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings. As always, I urge people to alert us to anything that might seem strange or out of place, or anything that makes them feel uncomfortable. They can flag the cop, call 911, or call our toll-free counterterrorism number, which is 1-888 New York City Safe. And that's for anything new, or if someone has information about any of the incidents this week in New York. We don't underestimate the difference even one person can make towards our collective safety, and neither should the people of New York City. I want to reiterate, as I did yesterday, and as I do anytime we talk about far-reaching investigations of this nature, or of any other kind, that nothing we do in law enforcement we do alone. Through our Joint Terrorist Task Force, comprised of professionals from the agencies you see here today and others, we are investigating all of this with great precision. And I can say with certainty that we will identify and arrest a person or people responsible for these acts. Make no mistake, New York City's intelligence and counterterrorism capabilities are second to none. Every day of the year, not just this week, our detectives and analysts are constantly poring over the threat stream as we proactively deploy our resources around the city as needed. And you're seeing that today, too, out of an abundance of caution. I'll tell you that when we look at the events of yesterday and today, I have immense pride in the incredible work the men and women of the NYPD do each and every day, especially when it involves partnering with the organizations represented here today. I'll conclude by reminding everyone that law enforcement professionals do not care about the politics behind these acts. What we do care about is keeping the public we serve safe. That's it. That's the job, fighting crime and keeping people safe. And through the full and willing partnership of everyone who lives in, works in, and visits New York City, will make the safest large city in the United States even safer. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very, very much, Commissioner. I want to express my appreciation to all the men and women of the NYPD who have done an outstanding job yesterday and today addressing this situation, and to all of our partners, federal and state partners. Everyone has been working together to address this forthrightly. Now, look, one of the things that we emphasize in a moment like this is that you're going to see a lot of police presence. It's important that we proactively take steps to protect those who have come under attack. Clearly, what we've seen in the last few days is an attack on media outlets, an attack on prominent public figures. We're going to make sure there's expanded presence as long as we need it to show very vividly that New York City takes these issues seriously, that we are defending people who are coming under attack, that part of how we protect the democratic process is to show that threats like this are not taken lightly. So expect that presence. And I know that for those who have gone through this in the last few days, that's a presence that they appreciate greatly. I want to say that everyday New Yorkers have responded to this situation with the kind of strength and the kind of resiliency that this city is famous for. It makes me very, very proud of all 8.6 million New Yorkers, that they have handled this situation with a real sense of resolve. They're not going to let an act of terror intimidate them. And that's really important in this moment, to say whatever the motives of the individuals involved, the people of this city are not being thrown off their game, are not having their values undermined or their way of life undermined. New Yorkers are standing strong right now. And the last thing I want to say is, in a moment like this, there's a lot of concern, there's a lot of fear. Clearly, it's an upsetting time. It's a time when there's been too much hatred and too much division in the air. And in that context, people can feel powerless. I want to remind people that everyone has an opportunity to play a positive and constructive role here. First of all, helping law enforcement. This is something that everyone can do. If you have any information at all that you think could help law enforcement to address this situation, share it with law enforcement immediately. Let them be the judges of the value of the information. Don't hold it back. So many times, and I agree with the Commissioner, law enforcement ultimately has proven they will find the perpetrators, but so many times it's because an individual, a citizen, stepped forward with information that really led to the key breakthrough. If you have information, share it. If you're concerned about packages that could arrive at your home or your workplace, you see something that worries you, reach out to the police, get their involvement to address the situation. People can be part of solving this immediate challenge, but finally, we all can be a part of solving the bigger situation that we're facing as a society, as a nation. A tone of civility, a tone of mutual respect is something we all can create. We shouldn't just ask, what are the most prominent voices doing? We also have to ask the question, are all of us treating each other with respect, treating men and women in law enforcement with respect, people in the media who report the news, treating them with respect. This is something that we all have to do as a way of addressing a crisis like this, and we can, and I have great confidence that we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jimmy. Right now, the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Forces around the nation are fully engaged on this investigation. We are working quickly to process and analyze relevant information from the suspicious packages recovered over the last few days. We will continue to do so for as long as it takes and until there is a resolution. This is a nationwide investigation involving multiple jurisdictions coast to coast. To give you a sense of scope, just here on the New York JTTF, agencies ranging from ATF, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the Secret Service, the NYPD, the New York State Police, and dozens of other federal, state, and local agencies are working shoulder to shoulder. I want to thank those partners for their efforts, their collaboration, and hard work. Much of their leadership is in the room with us today. I also want to personally thank the hundreds of men and women that are up the street working on this together. The FBI will continue to focus all of the resources at our disposal to identify and apprehend the individual or individuals responsible for these acts. The investigation is still in its early stages. I have said this each time that we have faced similar situations, but it bears repeating today. It is vitally important that we do not inadvertently disclose information that could adversely impact our investigation or a future prosecution. The public understands the need for this level of operational security, and for that reason, I will not be able to answer specific questions on what we know. What I can say is that at various times over the last few days, 10 suspicious packages were located at multiple locations in New York, Maryland, Florida, Delaware, and Los Angeles. Law enforcement responded, and each package was collected by experts, and examinations are now underway at the FBI lab in Quantico. As to the devices located in New York, which contained a powder, the initial analysis indicates that the powder in those particular envelopes did not present a biological threat. Other analysis is ongoing. However, it is worth repeating that any device could be considered potentially dangerous and treated as such until proven otherwise. We continue to advise the American public to remain vigilant, as it does remain possible further packages have been or could be mailed. These devices should be considered dangerous. Report any suspicious package to law enforcement, and it is worth repeating: do not touch, do not move, do not handle any suspicious or unknown package. Leave it to the law enforcement professionals. We are also asking the public to call us with any information you may have. We have set up a hotline nationwide. That hotline is 1-800-CALL-FBI, and we also have a link set up where you can provide information via the internet at tips.fbi.gov. We are actively investigating tips you have already provided. Please continue to assist us with our efforts. A moment of your time can make a great difference towards resolving this investigation. Thank you.
I think most of you are up to speed on the events that occurred outside the Time Warner Center at CNN yesterday. What I'd like to do is kind of walk you through the timeline of the events of this morning on Greenwich Street. This begins in the very early hours of the morning when a retired NYPD Intelligence Bureau detective who was awake and watching the news saw the image of the packaging that has been common to most of these devices as they have turned up at various locations. And it struck him that that looked very much like a package he had seen on Tuesday in mail he was to screen for Robert De Niro Productions at their offices on Greenwich Street. He contacted, based on his experience, he knew how to call the bomb squad directly. He spoke to the bomb squad. They advised him to also notify the 1st Precinct, and they went directly to the scene. They were met by emergency service, who with the 1st Precinct were able to locate, based on the security director's instructions, the package where he described it. The bomb squad was then able to use their expertise and equipment to safely package that intact, remove it safely from the building, and then place it in the total containment vessel, which is our bomb transport vehicle, and bring it to the Rodman's Neck range, where it joined the other devices that we got from CNN and from the FBI and Westchester County authorities. By late this afternoon, all of those devices should have been transported by the FBI to the FBI lab in Quantico to be examined by their explosives people, so that all the evidence from all of these incidents are in one place. I'd especially like to commend the work of the JTTF. Was in the command post last night as they pulled an amazing effort together with other joint terrorism task forces around the country to run leads, and with FBI headquarters, the work of the Intelligence Bureau detectives under Chief Galati, who have been assisting as a virtual extension of the JTTF as leads come in, the public for calling those leads in, not just to the FBI hotline, but to the NYC safe number that goes to our ops desk. We're up 139% in those calls, so when we ask people to come forward, they do it. Particularly to the bomb squad detectives and supervisors who, whether it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon or in this case 5 o'clock in the morning, are right there with the right equipment, the right training, and know what to do. The emergency service people who drive that truck with the device in the back, the highway people who escort them, and of course all of our partners, postal inspectors, ATF, and of course the JTTF. It's a large team effort, and we're looking for the continued help of the public.
All right, at this point, we're going to take some questions. Yep, second row.
Were these devices rigged to explode, or do you think they were more sent to intimidate?
So we're not going to, as Bill said, we're not going to give you 100% accurate description of what the devices were, but we have to treat them as live devices. This is a protocol that our bomb squad people use, and it keeps everybody safe. Yep, in the back row.
Is there any reason to believe there may be other packages like this out there?
Yeah, we don't know at this time, but with the postal services that are here, we're doing our best to make sure that if there are any out there, we identify them quickly. Yeah, in the back.
said that the powder wasn't biological. Is it a talcum powder or some other type of powder? And also, are you exploding the bombs at Rodman's Neck, or you're taking them to Quantico unexploded?
No, we are transporting whatever evidence we have down to Quantico. And as far as the powder, we're just going to leave it as to what Bill said, that it's not biological, and we're still testing it. Yes, in the back row?
Two questions. First of all, is it, I saw reports that they may have come from Florida. Are any of them, have they been hand-delivered or delivered via courier, or were they sent through the mail? Could they have come from Florida? And then my second question is, what, in terms of being proactive and identifying potentially new targets, are you doing anything to look for other celebrities or
okay. Bill, do you want to talk about the first part of your question? And John, maybe you can get the second part, what we're doing proactively?
What was the first part of your question again? I'm sorry.
Could they have originated in Florida? Were any of them sent, how many of them were sent through the mail versus delivered by courier?
So I'm not going to get into specifically where we think the packages came from. Some were obviously delivered or in the postal system. I'll leave it at that. Other than that, I'm not going to get into a description of where we think the packages originated. I would reiterate, regardless of where people think they originated, if you see something suspicious or you think you may know information, please provide that to us at those two tip lines.
Commissioner? Hold on one second. We have a second part of that question.
To get to the second part of your question, when there was the first device targeting Mr. Soros, we went to all the locations that were associated with the Soros family, Soros businesses, places that Soros contribute to. When that developed the next day with the bomb at the Clinton residence, then the Obama residence, we really widened our outreach. We have a program called the Nexus program. We have the SHIELD program. So we have a lot of built-in, preset public-private outreach that we just turned on and then turned up. We went to television networks yesterday. We posted police officers in front of locations that we thought might be under increased threat. When the device was discovered at CNN, NYPD personnel were already there working with their mailroom people on recognition and detection, and that was increased to a wider scope today. I don't want to go through what types of people or places we've increased to, because we don't want to single anybody out that hasn't received a package. Suffice it to say, we're watching where they go, and we're doing extensive outreach.
Just to add one more thing to that, and if you go on the NYPD website, there'll be information about how you can identify what might appear to be a suspicious package. Somebody over here? Yep.
Question, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of talk about whether these are hoax devices, maybe not real in some cases, they weren't intended to go off. How would you describe it? Would you describe it as something that was a hoax, or should people really be taking this seriously?
This is something that should be taken seriously. The NYPD and the FBI, we're taking this seriously. We are treating them as live devices. As you see the way our bomb squad detectives went into CNN yesterday, this has to be taken with the utmost seriousness. So as far as a hoax device, we're not treating it that way. Dominic?
For the mayor, Mr. Mayor, do you definitely feel this is terrorism related, and what do you say to the people of New York?
It's absolutely terrorism because it's an effort to use violence to make a political impact. That's the definition of terrorism. The people of New York City are as tough as it gets. This city's been through terror attacks before. The people of the city understand the whole game plan of terrorists is to intimidate us. New Yorkers refuse to be intimidated. That's what we see time and time again. Go back to 1993, the first bombing of the World Trade Center, and everything that's happened ever since. People in this city are full of resolve and don't let these things throw us off our game. And I think that's important to inhibiting terrorism going forward, to consistently show those who would attack us that their efforts are in vain. So New Yorkers have been exemplary. They do heed the warning. If you see something, say something. But I want to remind people, because we see this a lot, people should not hesitate. Sometimes someone's, looking at something, they're concerned, they think, oh, maybe I should call, maybe I shouldn't. If it's on the cusp, make the call. If you think maybe you should call, you should definitely call. Let the experts resolve something. If there's anything that's suspicious, let law enforcement be the ones to make sense of it.
Nolan?
I'm just a little confused on the powder. Just as a clarification, are you referring to the white powder that was found in this package mailed to CNN, or is this powder that was in the device?
No, this is the powder that was found yesterday with the packaging yesterday. So it's not biological. It's still being subjected to further testing. Yep, right here. Yep.
About the officer, the retired officer who found the package at De Niro's property?
No, just I'll say that I'd like to thank him for doing his job correctly. He saw on the news, and thank you for putting it out there, that this package that he saw yesterday was almost exactly like the package that they were showing on TV, and he took affirmative steps to call us to make sure we could take it away safely. Yes?
Accurate to call this an explosive device, a suspected explosive device, or simply a device? What's the proper terminology?
I would say it's a suspected explosive device. Yep.
To that end, but some of them have exploded. Do you believe the intent is to have them not explode, or are they
I'm not going to talk about intent, but if you were the bomb squad detective, how would you treat it? Right? Okay, in the back row.
Commissioner, I understand you don't want to say whether these things are explosive or not, but do you guys know for yourselves whether these are explosive or hoaxes?
We are treating them as suspected explosive devices.
Do you know the answer yourselves, even if you don't want to say publicly?
I'm not going to get into that. The back row. It was a good try, though. Thank you.
We saw all the envelopes look the same. Are all the devices that were inside the same? And have you guys been able to get forensic evidence off the envelopes or things to get identifying information?
Bill, do you want to take that?
So I'm not going to describe whether devices are the same or not. What I will tell you is the folks at the lab at Quantico are extraordinarily thorough, and everyone will be examined in great detail, and we'll go from there.
Two or three more guys. Mark, hold on. Mark.
With these devices, does this look like they're constructed by somebody who actually knows what they're doing, or just somebody who just read up on their website?
I think you just asked me the same question that he asked me. I'm not going to go into that. Thanks. Yep, right here, the front row.
Is there a time frame as to when the analysis from Quantico may be rendered for the FBI to continue the investigation?
It's an ongoing thing. We are discovering things by the hour. Shimon?
Yeah, just on the...
We'll get to you in a second. Dean.
Maybe someone can talk about how the postal inspectors, how they're going about tracking this, finding this.
Sure.
There's been a lot of questions on it. I think a lot of people have...
Okay. All right, Shimon. Phil, you want to talk about that?
So in terms of tracking, we have over 600,000 postal employees out there right now, so we have their eyes and ears looking for these packages. I will say, in the postal network, we have found nothing in the last 8 hours. So what we have so far is what we have, 10 parcels.
So what does that indicate to you, if anything at all, in terms of how significant is that you haven't found anything else?
It's not really significant, although, again, it's working. We've got our eyes and ears of the postal employees, highly trained postal inspectors out there, searching postal facilities, looking for these devices. And again, we haven't found anything in the last 8 hours.
Have you been able to determine where these packages were mailed from? You don't have to give us a location, but has there been a significant amount of work done?
Not at this time. No.
Right. Thanks, Phil. Dean, last one.
You've been asking people to call 188 NYC SAFE and the national hotline. Have people been calling those hotlines with information, and do you have leads?
Yeah, so as John said, our 1888 New York City SAFE hotline, we have 139% more calls as of yesterday. So people are calling. And am I going to speak about specifically what those leads are? I'm not going to do that because we're still in the middle of the investigation. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thanks.
This is the heart-stopping moment. The latest pipe bomb was carefully loaded aboard a blast-proof truck in Lower Manhattan and driven away. The bomb was addressed to actor Robert De Niro, who launched a profanity-laced attack on the president at this year's Tonys. The bomb was sent to this building here, which houses Robert De Niro's production company, Tribeca Enterprises. It's connected to a restaurant over here and a hotel over here, both also owned by De Niro. The bomb scare completely shutting down this upscale New York City neighborhood.
If his intent is to disrupt and scare a city and lock people down and get attention. He's succeeding in that.
2 other bombs intended for former VP Joe Biden were intercepted in Delaware. The bomber has targeted prominent critics of President Trump across America.
These are targets of frequent criticism by the president. That cannot be ignored.
Fingers pointing at Trump all day long on the other networks, which I found disgusting.
The serial bomber is the target of a major FBI manhunt, but some supporters of the president are actually calling it a hoax. Fox Business Network host Lou Dobbs posted, "Fake news, fake bombs. Who could possibly benefit by so much fakery?" The tweet was deleted within minutes. The president refrained from personal attacks at a rally in Wisconsin.
By the way, do you see how nice I'm behaving tonight? This is like, have you ever seen this? We're all behaving very well. And hopefully we can keep it that way, right?
But today, he was blaming the media. A very big part of the anger we see today in our society is caused by the purposely false and inaccurate reporting of the mainstream media that I refer to as fake news. We're learning more about that bomb-proof truck. It's called a total containment vessel. Inside, there's a sling which cradles the bomb and keeps it from being tossed around in transit. It's strong enough to withstand a bomb blast, releasing the explosive gases through a vent.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today. It is an honor to be here today and to welcome President Trump to the Department of Health and Human Services. This is the first time in more than a decade that we have had a president here in the Humphrey Building. As many of you have heard me say, it is the privilege of a lifetime to get to serve here at HHS with this incredible team that we have here on this absolutely vital mission of protecting and enhancing the health and well-being of all Americans. It is an especially great privilege to work with and for someone who thinks as boldly as President Trump does about how to improve the health and well-being of the American people. Mr. President, I know I speak for my HHS colleagues to say that it is an honor to work on your health care priorities, from lowering drug prices and securing better value in health care to increasing insurance choices and combating the opioid crisis. Your leadership has helped us propose bold solutions, begin implementing them, and to see results. Nowhere has that been more true than on drug pricing. In just the first 5 months since HHS released the American Patients First Blueprint, President Trump has taken more action to bring down the high price of prescription drugs than any other previous president in history. I can tell the American people that this is an issue the President cares deeply, personally, and passionately about. Every single day he is fighting to bring down the high cost of prescription drugs in this country. Almost every day he is telling me to bring down the high cost of prescription drugs in this country. And that involves direct personal intervention. The President and I meet on drug price increases, and he will not hesitate to call or have me call CEOs when prices are increased, when they're out of control, and his actions have an effect. They deliver results. And we're also changing the entire system of how we pay for drugs in this country. Today is one very important part of that change, but there's more coming. This is not the end of the road or the end of the journey. There is more action in progress, more coming. It is terrific to be able to work for a president who's got the courage to take on special interests, and there are special interests here that are very deep and solidified, and that will challenge the actions we're taking today and will challenge the actions that we're going to continue to take. But this president will continue to fight every single day to put American patients first and bring down drug prices. And with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a big day. It's a very important day. Thank you. Please. Excellent. Thank you very much, Secretary Azar, for your tremendous leadership. This really is an important day for me. I've been talking about drug price reductions for a long time. And now we're doing things that nobody was, let's say, because I'm speaking on behalf of all of us, bold enough to do. And they're going to have a tremendous impact. I also want to thank FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb. Scott, stand up, Scott. You've done such an incredible job. Really incredible job. And CMS Administrator Seema Verma for joining us. Seema, thank you very much. Seema, great job. Great job. I'm thrilled to be here at the Department of Health and Human Services, and I want to thank everybody. I understand that it's been decades since the last president came here, and I'm very surprised that President Obama didn't come here for Obamacare. Explain that one to me, but he didn't. But it's a great honor to be here. You do an incredible job. You really do an incredible job, so I thank you. Since the day I took office, I have made reducing drug prices one of my highest priorities. Last year, the FDA approved more than 1,000 low-cost generics, the most in the history of our country. This year, we beat that record, approving even more generics. These new approvals are leading to cheaper, competitive alternatives for life-saving drugs like the EpiPen, saving Americans almost $9 billion a year last year alone. Since releasing my drug pricing blueprint in May, 16 drug companies reduced their list prices, rolled back increases, or froze their prices for the rest of the year. We called a few of those companies recently where they raised their prices, and I guess maybe it was one of the times that I realized how powerful the presidency is, because they immediately rolled their prices back to where they started. And those companies know who we're talking about, and we appreciate it very much. Earlier this month, I signed 2 bills to lower the cost of prescription drugs. The Know the Lowest Price Act. Know the Lowest Price Act. It's a big thing. And the Patient Right to Know Act. And by the way, put those two together and you have a complicated deal. Sounds simple, but that one's not. Ending the unjust gag clauses once and for all, where you'd go into a drugstore and the pharmacist wouldn't even be allowed to talk about alternatives or pricing. How ridiculous is that? Think of it, how ridiculous. That's not going to take place anymore. And actually, the pharmacists are very happy about it. Patients now have the right to know the lowest price and the most affordable alternative available at their pharmacy. Today, we are here to announce another bold and historic action to bring down the price of prescription drugs. With the action I am unveiling today, the United States will finally begin to confront one of the most unfair practices, almost unimaginable that it hasn't been taken care of long before this, that drives up the cost of medicine in the United States. We're taking aim at the global freeloading that forces American consumers to subsidize lower prices in foreign countries through higher prices in our country. And I've seen it for years, and I never understood. Same company, same box, same pill, made in the exact same location, and you'll go to some countries and it would be 20% the cost of what we pay, and in some cases much less than that. And I'd say, why is this? I never knew that I would be able to stand here before you and have a chance to fix it, and that's what we're doing. We're fixing it. That's called real-life experience, I guess. For decades, other countries have rigged the system so that American patients are charged much more, and in some cases much, much more, for the exact same drug. In other words, Americans pay more so that other countries can pay less. Very simple. That's exactly what it is. It's wrong, it's unfair, it's not surprising. I've seen trade deals where It's far more costly to us than even this, and we're changing them also. Foreign countries even threaten to disrespect our patents if they are not given cheaper prices on drugs. So they're not going to even look at the patents. They've been very, very disrespectful previously to our country and to all of the things we stand for. And especially, they would disrespect patents when it came to American-made drugs. The American middle class is effectively funding virtually all drug research and development for the entire planet. So we are paying for it. We are subsidizing it. Everybody else is benefiting. And they are paying nothing toward research and development. The world reaps the benefits of American genius and innovation, while American citizens, and especially our great seniors, who are hit the hardest, pick up the tab, but no longer. Here are just a few examples. For one eye medication that helps prevent blindness, Medicare pays over $1 billion a year. If we paid the prices other nations pay, we'd bring the $1 billion down to $187 million a year. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? We spend more than $1 billion a year on 2 drugs to treat bone disease, but we could save more than $800 billion. Think of that, $800 billion saving for our seniors by paying the prices other countries pay. Nothing special, just the prices that other countries pay. That's the way the United States has been disrespected for too long in too many ways. One common cancer drug is nearly 7 times as expensive for Medicare as it is for other countries. This is a highly used and very effective drug, and it's 7 times more expensive. Not fair. This happens because the government pays whatever price the drug companies set without any negotiation whatsoever. Not anymore. Under our new plan, the Department of Health and Human Services would allow Medicare to determine the price it pays for certain drugs based on the cheaper prices paid by other nations. Some people call it favored nations clauses. We have them in business. We have them in a lot of different contracts that I've seen over the years and been part of. Favored nations. So think of that. So we're paying a price based on the price that other nations are paying. That's what we're going to pay. No longer 7 times more, no longer 10 times, 11 times, even 12 times more. I've seen examples. Paying the same price. Talking about billions and billions of savings to people, to people. We will no longer accept the inflated prices being charged to our seniors. I had a congressman, respected congressman, come to the Oval Office and say, "Sir, for my constituents, drug pricing is more important than health care." And I said, "Explain that to me." But he actually said drug price, I've never forgotten the expression, drug pricing, we know how important health care is, drug pricing is even more important for my constituents. At long last, the drug companies in foreign countries will be held accountable for how they rigged the system against American consumers. This is a revolutionary change. Nobody's had the courage to do it, or they just didn't want to do it. And this is a change for the people. This is not a change for industry or for companies or for pharma. This is a change for the people. It will be substantially a reduction in drug prices for our people and our senior citizens. Tremendous, tremendous difference. Our plan will also fix a broken payment system where doctors are reimbursed more if they prescribe a much more expensive drug. Under our new proposed payment system, doctors will be paid a flat rate. Now, when you think of it, it's like being a contractor or anything else. If it's an expensive drug or a less expensive drug, it's the same. It doesn't take any more. And I think this will be good in terms of the pricing of the drug. Be fantastic for that. But it'll also be much better for patients, and it very well may be better for doctors. This follows other significant actions that we have taken to protect Medicare for our great seniors. We have given the plans that serve more than 45 million seniors on Medicare Part D and 20 million seniors on Medicare Advantage new tools to negotiate lower prices. Thanks to our actions this year, premiums for both Medicare Part D and Medicare Advantage have, and I'll give you a word that you haven't ever heard, have gone down. You've never heard that word. True. Gone down. And now they're going to go substantially down. Sadly, a majority of Democrats in the House of Representatives have co-sponsored a very socialist health care plan that would destroy Medicare, terminate Medicare Advantage, and outlaw the employer-sponsored health care plans of 157 million Americans. We think that they're going to actually come along with us when they see what we're doing, we think. We hope. It's something that makes no sense any other way. So we really think that can be bipartisan. It happened to be a Democrat that told me how important drug pricing was. It wasn't a Republican in this case, it was a Democrat. Under this administration, we will always protect Medicare for our great seniors, and we will always protect Americans with pre-existing conditions, always. In every action we take, we are putting America first. And this is very much about putting America first. We get tired of having people go to other countries to literally fill prescriptions, and you know where I'm talking about. We're fighting for lower drug prices, which will now be automatic. It will be automatic and very substantial. Lower premiums, where we've done a really good job with health care in bringing the premiums down to a much lower level, much more acceptable level. And we're going to be soon announcing some things that will really have a tremendous and positive impact on health care also. And better health care, very importantly, for every single American. So I just want to thank everybody in this room. You're outstanding people. I know how hard you work. I know how important your work is, how brilliant your work has to be, and how complex a job you have. You have a very complex job. You have everything. You have probably every single element of life in the work you do. But I just want to let you know the American people very much appreciate, have great respect for you. I think they'll even have more. That'll go up very significantly when they see their drug prices falling. They're going to say, what's happened? They must have made a mistake. It's true. They're going to go up to the counter. They're going to say, did you make a mistake? Some won't say that. They'll just think it. And some might say, did you make a mistake? But you're going to see a big reduction. I want to thank everybody very much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Fact: Donald Trump and Ted Cruz hate each other. I mean, maybe?
He's a nasty guy. Nobody likes him. Nobody in Congress likes him.
Real men don't do that.
He doesn't know anything about the economy. He doesn't know anything about jobs. He was a failed senator.
The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist.
The relationship between the President of the United States and the Texas Republican senator is the stuff of a soap opera, with all sorts of twists, turns, blow-ups, and makeups. Or maybe, now that I think about it, a reality TV show might be the better choice, given Trump's love of the genre. So the latest episode of Trump and Ted came when the president traveled to Houston to headline an event for Cruz's surprisingly competitive 2018 race against Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Trump signaled this rally months ago, tweeting, quote, "Ted has my complete and total endorsement. His opponent is a disaster for Texas. Weak on Second Amendment, crime, borders, military, and vets." Now, the truth is that Ted needs Trump right about now. O'Rourke has raised a massive amount of money, $38 million in 3 months, and polling puts him within striking distance of Cruz. With the election rapidly approaching, Cruz needs to get Republicans excited, and a Trump campaign appearance is like drinking 10 Red Bulls for the GOP base. Trust me, I know. Even though Cruz knows he needs Trump, he's not exactly thrilled about it, and he's not too good at hiding that fact.
Is he your friend? Is he your foe? How do you describe the relationship?
He's the president. And he's the president. I work with the president in delivering on our promises.
Well, I'm convinced. In Cruz's defense, you can understand why he's not exactly a giant fan of Trump's, even when the president is riding to his re-election rescue. So let's revisit just some of the things Trump said about Cruz during the 2016 presidential primary fight, which eventually narrowed to be just between the two of them. Number 1, Trump coined the nickname Lion Ted for Cruz's alleged tendency toward truth stretching.
This guy, Ted Cruz, is the single biggest liar I have ever dealt with in my life. L-Y-I-N' Lion Ted.
He holds up the Bible, and then he lies.
From March 13th to May 6th, the heart of their heated primary battle, Trump tweeted the phrase a whopping 27 times. That's a lot of Lion Ted, according to the Dallas Morning News. Number 2, Trump suggested that Cruz's father, Raphael, might have been involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Yes, this really happened. See, there was a grainy black and white photo of Lee Harvey Oswald in Cuba with a man vaguely resembling the elder Cruz in the background.
His father was with Lee Harvey Oswald prior to Oswald being, shot. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous.
He got that part right. Cruz's campaign insisted it was not his dad at all in the picture with Oswald. Number 3, Trump went birther on Cruz. Did you forget about this one? Cruz was born in Canada to a Cuban father and a mother who was an American citizen, which, of course, makes him American. Or does it? Dun dun dun! Spoiler alert, it does. Quote, why would Texans vote for liar Ted Cruz when he was born in Canada, lived there for 4 years, and remained a Canadian citizen until recently? Trump tweeted in February 2016. Number 4, Trump attacked Heidi Cruz's looks. After an anti-Trump group ran ads featuring a photo of Melania Trump in the buff, Donald Trump blamed Cruz and threatened to spill the beans on his wife Heidi. It was never clear what exactly Trump was talking about. Then Trump tweeted an unflattering image of Heidi Cruz next to one of Melania Trump with the words, quote, no need to spill the beans. The images are worth 1,000 words, end quote. Yeah, Cruz went bananas holding a press conference.
Donald, you're a sniveling coward and leave Heidi the hell alone.
So, yeah, there's some water under that bridge. And that's even before Trump gave Cruz a primetime speaking slot at the 2016 Republican National Convention, only to watch his one-time rival refuse to endorse him.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
Now, Trump handled the snub with his usual aplomb, tweeting, quote, wow, Ted Cruz got booed off the stage, didn't honor the pledge. I saw his speech 2 hours early, but let him speak anyway. No big deal. NBD. Right. After that ugliness, Trump said,
I don't want his endorsement, by the way. I really don't.
But because this is politics and Trump, Cruz did endorse the Republican nominee in late September 2016.
Well, I'm here campaigning for Donald Trump for Mike Pence.
Wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement. Here's Cruz, quote, a year ago, I pledged to endorse the Republican nominee, and I am honoring that commitment, he wrote in a Facebook post, quote, and if you don't want to see a Hillary Clinton presidency, I encourage you to vote for him, end quote. Man, feel the love, right? Right? And yet, here we are, Cruz turning to Trump to rally the Republican base 2 weeks before an election that is way closer than the senator had liked and hoped it would be. Sidebar. Cruz is still the favorite in this race. It's still Texas. And for all of O'Rourke's fundraising success, he's still stuck in the mid-40s in most polling. For Trump, Cruz coming to him in a time of need is the sweetest sort of revenge. Cruz doesn't want to need Trump, but oh, does he. It's a recognition that Trump has totally and completely taken over the Republican Party. It's his party now. People need to either recognize that fact and kiss the ring, or run the risk of not having a job. And so, because they are politicians, they kiss the ring. And that is the point.